In Marine, um, things are pretty much on the norm and everything's quiet. And just so happens that while Daenerys is sitting on the throne in the Pyramid Palace, a messenger, or actually the palace guard, comes forward. Yes, you have something to report. Uh, yes. Well, you're not going to believe this, although I don't know him that well myself. But I believe one that you had reassigned has come back. Come back after he was restricted from the palace. Yes, but he's not alone. Really. Who else is with him? A woman. She looks to be of royalty. I see. Very well then. You might want to stand by in case he has treachery in mind. Yes, my queen. So he goes out and tells Daario that he may come forward, but then stands by. Much to her surprise, here comes Daario, and as he stood there with this kind of a cocky grin on his face, it brings back memories when she first met him, and she looks kind of surprised at this. She has a slight smile herself. The last time I saw you, and you look like this, we had just met. This is quite a surprise. And you've let your hair grow out, and you seem to be clean shaven. Yes, well, I'm glad I'm somewhat pleasing to you. Yes, well, that was the past. I am now married. Yes, I know. And you still do not approve of this. Actually, I have come to terms. Though it was, for me, a painful experience, I have gotten over this. Really, that's amazing. But like you said, I will always cherish the times we had. She kind of seems somewhat delighted in this and a little bit stirred by it. Yes, I will too. And my human husband has no jealousies, and he understands that I will cherish moments that we've had. And he's not jealous of this. I see. Kind of interesting. Though I am still surprised you would choose him. It was the destiny of the gods, and there is a prophecy to be fulfilled. I believe this is why he's here. She also then notices that there is one of royalty. And who is this? This is Alia Aina of the House of the one that used to rule here. She doesn't seem to happen to see her standing before her. So you bring an enemy before me. At that time, Alia humbly does a curtsy before her. With your permission, my queen, I would like to speak freely. I guarantee you that when I speak, I have no ill will of you or to do anything of disrespect. Well, I'll determine that, but you may go ahead. It is true that you did crucify my father on the cross for the treacheries that he did to men, women, and especially children. And you obviously then have a problem with this. No, I actually know that when one is a princess or a daughter of one who rules, they don't really have any say in the matter of what the ruling is. Surely you, at one point in time, if you don't mind me saying so, if your father had held a position as a king, you wouldn't have had any say in the matter of how he ruled either. Am I not correct? She kind of staring at her, thinks about that. That is true. My father, who is known as the Mad King, made many rulings, and it was not my place to say anything. You have spoken well. So what is your business being here? Well, though you might find this a bit surprising, Daario is my husband. Suddenly she has this grin on her face like, okay. As if this was a sight to behold now. Well, Daario, I see. You did not waste time. Well, you said I did not hold the title that was required for the House of Targaryen for you to marry me. And yet, again, I was chosen by one of royalty. Is this true? Well, yes, Queen Daenerys, I chose him because, like you, men may choose those who they wish to be with, but as the princess, I choose. Unlike you, I don't hold one's status of nobility or royalty against them, whether they hold one or not. Now that my father is, well, no longer living, he cannot discipline me for my choice. Therefore, I have chosen what I consider to be a warrior, based on everything that I've heard and how well he has served you. And I do know, while you two had affections for each other, I too have no jealousies, and she holding both her hands out. So I don't see why we can't get along. Well, as long as it's made clear that even though you two be married together as husband and wife, that does not mean that my feelings have changed, nor will it be used as an excuse, Daario, for you to think other thoughts. Because while a princess may have married you, that does not immediately make you a prince, because you are not born a one. You only might hold a title only by marriage, but not by birth. I understand. So what is the point of you being here? Well, I do have something else to report other than our being wed. On our way here, hoping that perhaps I might earn my graces to transfer my assignment back to this palace, and especially after our having run into an actual enemy of yours, it might be prudent enough that we might have to be a Marine, especially for Aaliyah's safety. There is one who is much taller than me, called the Harpy King. And he was even more surprised, as you were, of who I'm married to. He knows who I am, and he's not concerned with the human. He thinks he can swat the human like a fly. But he said there's others that will take care of this human. She seems kind of concerned about this. Others? Well, apparently there must be something going on in Westeros. That's the only thing I could maybe speculate on, based on how he was speaking. I took offense to how he was trying to make threats against you, and Daenerys seemed to appreciate this. But I decided for the safety of Aaliyah, because the Harpy King made it clear that for her to marry one such as myself makes her almost like that of a traitor, though he didn't say that word for word, but I kind of got the idea. And that I was supposed to choose a leader, that since you had decided that I was not worthy to marry you, and that Aaliyah here, being married to me, would be considered one that he would pursue also, to make sure there would be no rise against him should he be able to take you off the throne that you sit on. Well, I will not be pushed around by anybody, especially this Harpy King. Did he say if he was going to be attacking anytime soon? No, he seemed that he had another agenda, that he was not really ready for this yet. This could be a good reason to be prepared, though. I agree. Very well, then. For the safety of you, Aaliyah, and you must understand, I am the breaker of chains, and I will not tolerate any reinstating of slavery. Are we not clear? But of course, my queen, I never condoned my father's actions anyway. That is good to hear. She looks at Daario with a funny grin. My Daario, you have changed what you have gotten yourself into now. I take much delight in this, because while you cannot have me, it would seem that you're in a very interesting situation. I will go ahead and permit this, though my husband, William, the human, is not here. I'm sure he won't be too upset knowing that you're back. But you may take refuge here in Marine. But you're still going to be limited on how much access you have to the throne room. Are we clear? Yes, I understand. Very well then, you two are dismissed. And she kind of watches as they walk out. Asandi then walks up. That was very unexpected. Yes, it was. Though I am concerned about this Harpy King. This is the first I've heard of this. He must be quite tall. And at the same time, I still do not trust Daario. Then she looks over at the palace guard. You did well standing by. I will place you in charge to make sure he does not wander about where he's not supposed to be. His visits to this throne room are still limited until such time I feel comfortable with him being back. I understand, and I will make sure that this is off limits to Daario and his Princess Bride. Thank you. So he then departs. And so then Daenerys gets ready to attend the next meeting, kind of with a slight smile and shaking her head like this was not something she had planned for, but it was somewhat of amusing to her. In King's Landing, William then goes to the next class, learning about the maps of the politics, which was to be his next course in due time. Please come in, William. Have a seat. The next lessons we're going to learn about is the royal politics. Are you ready for these lessons? Yes, Lord Instructor, I am ready. Good. So he hands William then a map. Now, this one here is the Houses of the Iron Islands. Now, what I want you to do is tell me, based on what you see, as who the ruling house is of the Iron Islands and how many houses below the ruling house are or make up of the House of the Iron Islands. All right, so William takes a look at it then. Greyjoys is the ruling house of the Iron Islands. And let's see. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16. I believe there's 22 houses under the House of Greyjoy of the Iron Islands. That is correct. And what location is the Iron Islands located? I believe it's, well, using the human directions, I believe it would be west of the mainland of Westeros, which makes up about one main large island, slightly smaller island, and about 4 or 5 other islands. That is correct. Next is the House of the North. And can you tell me how many houses you see here and who would be the ruling houses of the North? I believe the ruling house of the North, I think, isn't that supposed to be the Starks? That is correct. As to the houses, although this map has been shrunk, it's a little bit hard to quite see all the shield banners. Well, go ahead and take your time. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 32. I think it's either 33 or 34. Well, that's pretty good. The Starks are not exactly that small then. No, they're not. Can you name who the last king of the North was? Well, I've heard of him. I think he once went by the name of Jon Snow, but then it's, from what I've read, that's not his actual name. That is correct. I think he was one part Stark, but at least mostly Targaryen. That is good. Who in the Westerlands controlled Lannisport? That would have been the Lannisters. Very good. Okay, here's the next map. You may have remembered this one from the geography lessons. Who guarded the wall? Well, that would be Castle Black. Did they have their own houses or anything? And if not, explain why. No, they were not like that of royalty. They were merely guards to the wall, and I believe they were much like, I guess what they said, women also had a similar type castle-like house, where instead of like meeting a death penalty, they would be sentenced for the rest of their life to be in servitude of the kingdom. So men would serve in Castle Black, known as the Black Watch, and the women would be in another castle, which I believe was in, they were ruled over by the Faith of the Seven, who would serve something like nuns. That's pretty good. Okay, this one here is Houses of the Crown Lands. Who is the main ruling house, and how many houses do you see here? I believe the main ruling house is the House of Baratheon. Good. And I see 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think there's 18 houses under the House of Baratheon. That is good. But wasn't the last king of the House of Baratheon a man by the name of former King, what was it, Lannis or Stannis Baratheon? That is correct. So isn't that house like empty now with no ruler? Well, we have heard that a far distant cousin has taken up the crown and the claim on that house. He's kind of a well husky king, and apparently there's a woman in red that still is around and is now in his servitude. Woman in red. It's, well, for your human understanding, it's what she's referred to, because it seems that that's the type of clothing she wears. Oh. Well, I guess I wouldn't know her personally. I've never met her. Well, no. And her beliefs are way different than any beliefs of the rest of the known kingdom. Okay. So, I guess that could be different. All right, William. Now, can you tell me the House of Baratheon, what would be the main patrol areas. I believe they have patrolled the Stormlands. That is correct. All right, I show you this next one here. Now, at the time, there was a time where Queen Daenerys, long ago before you came here, had succeeded in taking Dragonstone, and she finally made it to King's Landing. Do you know what area that the House of Targaryen had controlled at one time? Well, if I'm reading this map correctly, it says that it's the Crown Lands. That is correct. But why did she not hold this, or why does she not hold this now? Well, in due time, and she'll probably explain this to you, there was a great war, but it was not against man, but against something unnatural. Unnatural. I don't understand. You ever heard of White Walkers? No, we don't have that kind of thing in my world. I mean, is that a race of people? Well, not exactly. Lord Destructor kind of finds that a bit humorous. They were of many races. They were referred to as the White Walkers because they were neither living nor dead. Oh, well, in my world, not that I recall we ever had such a thing, we would call them zombies. But, so this war, I take it, was quite the war, yes. It took many kingdoms just to defeat them. And unfortunately, it cost Daenerys one dragon at first, and eventually, when the war was over, another dragon had perished. I see. But she had been rescued, and though I don't think I can mention this to you because it is of a faction that, in secret, they are known as the Society of Fire and Blood, and her appearance, though you may see her appearance now, she looked much different before you came to this world. Well, she still looks beautiful. Yeah, well, yes, of course. But she was probably what you could say a bit younger as a queen. And her beauty, not that she isn't very beautiful now, but she was a very beautiful young queen and had much the different looks that she does now. I see. All right. This here is Houses of the Reach. Who is the main house ruling of the Reach? Oh, I know. Go ahead. I believe it's Tyrell. That is correct. Does that mean that Queen Margie's mother and father rule this area? That is correct. Wow. I guess I really didn't realize just how important she is. You've met her already. Yes. Daenerys did tell me I might find other women of quite the beauty, and she wasn't wrong about that. But I mean, I have no serious attraction to Queen Margie, but I didn't realize that she held such an important position because of where her heritage comes from. Yes, well, it is a kingdom under the Tyrell house. And how many houses do you see before you? Well, let's see. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 27. That is correct. And so they're quite as large as the Stark's house then. Yes. Though some might say that the father might not look like he's a serious man. He's probably not one you'd want to trifle with because he still had the power for the Tyrell family. And so you already know then that the Reach was always patrolled by the House of Tyrell. Yes, I understand. I take it that was not too far from the House of Baratheon from looking at this map correctly. That is correct. This here map shows the House of the Riverlands. Do you know who is the main house of the Riverlands? Would it be the House of Frey? You're right. And how many houses do you see there? 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24. That is correct. Now, go ahead. I thought the Frey house is also supposed to be abandoned. I mean, wasn't the one who trained me how to hold a sword, Arya Stark, the one that took out all the Frey family? Yes, she did. But, again, a distant cousin had reclaimed the house and is now the king there. All right. So the Riverlands then would be patrolled by those who would carry what shield? I think it's the one that shows like waterways and a fish, but I think that's about the best as I can get it. That is correct. And who runs the Vale? Isn't that, what was it, Erie? Well, that's close enough, but yes. Okay. Let's see. How about this one, William? Houses of the Stormlands. Well, this one okay, I understand that the House of Baratheon runs his kingdom. But if I'm looking at this correctly, it looks like he patrols and runs this one as well. That is true. And how many houses do you see for the Stormlands? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. Very good. But how come this Stormlands never had their own kingdom? I mean, it's like it's still under the same House of Baratheon. That is a good question. I guess nobody could seem to find a leader. And so the House of Baratheons, with much of their approval, decided to lead them as well. Okay. Well, I guess they had to have some leader, so that would make sense. Here's the next one. Houses of the Vale. Let's see. Well, I think that would be, although I don't see their shield here. It's either the Erig that has some control of this. Well, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I think I see 21. That is good. But yeah, it would have to be the earring. That is good. Can you discern who runs the other smaller houses. Well, let's see. First, I see 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 16 houses. Good. And that means then Dorne would be the main ruling house for those smaller houses. You're doing good. Okay, we have one more, and then we're going to go into the eastern side, known as Westeros. Now these here, though they don't show all the houses, they were merely put into larger sections. This came about right after the Great War with what we call the White Walkers. Oh, you mean kind of like state houses? State houses. Well, yeah, in the country that is, well, the kingdom that's not a kingdom from where I come from, of the dark blue star in the blaring night sky, we had the main ruling body, and then there were those that would be called states that ran laws in over the people, but never overstepping the authority of the main house, and so they were known as state houses. Well, that's a pretty good human comparison there, William. So, how many state houses do you see? Well, for Westeros, anyway, I see 5, but it looks like there's a combination house. I guess they call it House Whore. Yes. Because the land was so spread out in the islands, they pretty much combined 4 to make 1. I see. And then I take it House Targaryen was the one that still was at the Dragonstone. That is correct. So those state houses exist now? No, not since, well, at least not the House of Targaryen. Because of one that was born from a man risen from the dead, Jon Snow, and not being a pure blood, she was pushed back. Now, your marriage, though historical, could come into question. And I think Daenerys knows this, even if she hasn't brought it up to you yet. There is going to come a time that a decree will have to be made, because any children she would have with you would still not be pure blood, even if you are from another world. And thus it could be tested if she would accept one. She would have to accept the one that the other kingdoms forced her to disown for all time, with the stripping of land and titles. So there's a child then of the one that she had married, though accustomed to marry her nephew. Yes. Daenerys. I see. Well, I take it she's not allowed to have the child here? No. It was part of the condition of letting her live. I understand. Alright, well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll go into Westeros. Alright, thank you, Lord Instructor. At the Pyramid Palace, Daenerys decides that she would like to talk to some more about with this strange one that came with Daario, because she's not too familiar with the family line. So as they go into the meeting room, she has Missandei then summon this princess. What did she say her name was? And she thinks kind of for a moment. But I know there's something about her name. Let's see. And she looks up in her records real quick, because she wants to make sure she addresses her properly. Not that it's something she's expected to do, but she wants to at least show some good manners about it. And so she then kind of looks up to see her name. And she's of a house of royalty. That much she does know. And let's see, she's still looking through for this. Ilea Aina. She doesn't seem to ring a bell with this name, but in any case, at least she knows how to address her. Funny then, after returning, my queen, she is on the way. Good, she has a big smile. I'm wondering how Daario pulled this one off. Well, I don't know. I mean, you did tell him there's plenty of women out there that he could find. And since he didn't hold that, like William, the human husband of yours, from the dark blue star of the very nice sky, that he didn't even so much as hold a duke. Yes, that is true. But because she is the daughter of the enemy, that makes me wonder. I mean, granted, I permitted her to take a presidency here, but she still holds the title of a princess. I'm hoping it's not her idea or intentions to try to throw me off the throne. Well, I don't think she would intentionally do that, knowing the fact that she'd be greatly outnumbered. That is true. Daenerys then takes her seat as Missandei also sits down. It is strange that with all those that killed innocent men, women, and children, that I never got to know each one of them personally. But as I had said when we first took Marine, justice will meet injustice. That is true. You do have, as far as I can tell, ruled well since you have conquered Marine. She gets up then quietly and looks over the balcony. I often wondered if I hadn't met William and things would have been different, would I have had a relation with Dart? But now that I think about it, it was not meant to be. I would have never met Jon Snow had that happened. In any case, I'm quite happy with the way things turned out. And hearing someone clear the throat in the background stands this princess, which in the right lighting, the front of her hair looks blue. It is. She turns around, looking kind of serious, kind of with a raised eyebrow. This is like the most peculiar thing she's ever seen. I hope I'm not here at a bad time, Queen Daenerys. I'm sorry if I don't know you that well. She is the mother of dragons, the unburned, breaker of chains, and also known as the Great Khaleesi. Others have referred to her as the Misha. She is Daenerys Stormborn of the House of Targaryen. She looks at the princess with a big smile, waiting for her to say something. Oh, with a slight grin. Well, the honor is mine to meet you, Queen Daenerys. I did not know you had so many titles. Yes, well, titles come with that which is victory, however sweet or not. But I do not make a big deal out of my titles. I only carry that which I've rightfully earned. Please be seated. So she does. Well, I might say, one woman to another, you are looking very extravagant, Queen Daenerys. Don't you think, Miss Zombie, I am her handmaid? Yes, and this doesn't bother you, does it? No, not at all. We, under our customs, usually don't have handmaidens address us. But then again, I have no problem with this. This is your house and you're ruling. Daenerys then takes a seat. Yes, it is. And it's nice to know that you know your place. But for right now, let us set aside any possible differences we have and speak plainly. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm sure you're wanting to know my motives, because I still carry that title of a princess. Well, the thought has occurred to my queen, as mine as well, because we do not believe in slavery. Neither do I. As I said, growing up with a father who rules with an iron hand is kind of hard. I had to make sure my father wasn't watching, and there was a few times that I've actually, well, snuck food to those who were enslaved, but there was not much I could do, especially when one's father is the ruler. Yes, I can relate much to that as well. Though I didn't care for the title Mad King, like you said. When one has grown up, you really don't have no place or say, even if you are next in line to the throne. That is very true. So tell me, if you don't mind, how did you come across Daario? Well, he looked like he was pretty well broken down. He was having a few drinks, and, well, being that I do not have any claim to the throne that you sit upon now, and thus I sense the same thing you do, because we all have the same senses here, and as you said, we can speak plainly. I have no intention of dethroning you. I hope you do believe me. Well, this is good to hear. Then I have nothing to worry about, do I? No, you do not. So I took him in. She kind of smiles like a lost dog. Yes, well, he felt like he was a bone thrown to the dogs. Well, I will say that destiny does change one's fate when in royalty. Yes, it does. And so, as we're speaking plainly, you must obviously had some enjoyment for the time you spent with him. Well, I know I shouldn't say this, and she has a smile, since I am now married to a human husband, and I would never cheat on him, as he's already sworn never to cheat on me. So I have to demonstrate this for other people who serve me, that when one is married, you do not play around in the field, if you know what I mean. Yes, I understand. But yes, Daario has a very nice model, and he's well built in the right areas. Very nice pull and two stones. But my House of Targaryen doesn't allow one to marry a knight. That is a shame for you. Well, as I said, my father, though I'm not trying to bring it up intentionally, did do wrong things, and I suppose in your ruling he had what was coming to him. I would assure you that I have no intention of following in his footsteps. So I decided to take Daario for myself. And yes, he does have a nice bottom and a very nice pole and two stones. They both seem to laugh about the song. It's kind of like, wow, okay, what a conversation we got going here. Yes, amongst us women. Well, I'm glad that you two found happiness together. At least I don't have to worry about him pursuing me any longer. No, because he already knows that even though I may be a princess, I too still have certain authorities. If one's to be with me, he's either with me or he's not. I seem to agree with the same thing. Perhaps I think we could be friends, she says with a smile. This, I would like this. What do you think, Miss Sandy? Well, I don't see why we can't be friends. After all, since I also give my queen um, certain advice, one woman to another, when she requires it, I think that we can have quite the discussion amongst us women, even about William when he does strange things. Mary looks towards Masandi like, I'm not sure whether to give her a warning or not. Yes, I've heard about William. That you found him on a beach, and I take it his bottom is just as good. She kind of looks down with a smile, doesn't say anything. Well, enough said there. I could see much love in your eyes, Queen Daenerys, and it is okay, because I have no intention of pursuing your husband, just as you have no interest in Daario. I think we should be blessed among women for having the men that we want. Yes, I would agree. And so with that, they have quite the interesting discussion amongst the three of them. Back at King's Landing, William goes into for the second part of the class in the King's Landing classroom, and the Lord Instructor then begins the next lesson. Excuse me, William, I think I owe you an apology. Oh, well, I thought this was going to be based on Westeros, but I was wrong. So as you can see, William, even I am man enough to admit that as Lord Instructor, I can make mistakes. I don't get out to Westeros very often, and here I've been in Westeros all my life, doing what I do best, instructing others of the kingdom laws, customs, and traditions, as I am now you. It's all right, Lord Instructor, it's all good, as I would say on my world of Earth. Very well, then. Well, this is going to still be part of Westeros, so let us go ahead and continue. So he pulls up a map then, and this one here we call it the House of the East. But unlike the main houses, this goes back a ways when either some at present or those that you may recognize had been at one point a smaller part of the realm of the kingdoms, the 7 kingdoms that we know of today. They were a lot smaller. So what I would like you to do is find something that's significant where you find possibly one or more that is recognizable that was small at the time based on this more older map. Alright, well, let's see. I see Targaryen as the island. Yes, they were small, only because most of them almost got wiped out. At the time, Robert Baratheon was king. And let's see. Well, let's see. Tully. Yes. Yeah, about Tully. I think it's one day somewhat connected to Tyrell. There was kind of a connection there. Well, I noticed the horror. I know what you mean, William. That's just what they call him. Okay? I wasn't trying to say anything bad, but that's what it says here. Hoare. You said it correctly. Alright, well, it's not what I call a statehood, as it was on the map that you showed me recently. No, this is a much older map. The rest now, however, do remain the same as small, only because they're much smaller houses. They're a step above that of what you might consider in your human understanding as commoners, but probably like those of dukes and duchesses. Okay, my world does have something similar to that. My world of Earth, kingdom way before my time, was called McEachran's, and we were second line to the throne of Scotland, and was made up of dukes and duchesses. But the men, of course, were merely bodyguards to the royal family of Scotland. Well, then we do have some similarities. So, the main ruling body right now, William, and most fortunate for you that she found you, is the Mother of Dragons, as you see here in the map of Marine. Her ruling is the strongest. Though she only held the throne for 3 days, some theorize that she might one day hold it again. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? William thinks carefully about this one. It's okay if you can't say anything, but I would imagine that if there is a prophecy, she would come back to King's Landing. This time, she might not be removed. Well, I guess that's all part of fate and destiny, right? William's trying to be very discreet because he's not sure what side the Lord Instructor's on. Yes, that is true. Fate and destiny go hand in hand, and one never knows what their fate is until they understand their destiny. That's well spoken. This, of course, is the chart from the time before the Great War with the White Walkers. At this point, I can't really say a whole lot about this because, in the end, it would be redundant for you to learn of all the houses, since you are married into royalty because Daenerys made you a suitor and allowed you to blend your human customs of marriage, I would imagine, from everything I've heard. So therefore, your main focus will be that of the House of Targaryen, because that is the house that you are married into. Yes. So I do apologize again that this be so short of a lesson, but now I think this concludes our political map lessons. So I guess until later on, William, you have pretty much the rest of the time to yourself. Well, thank you, Lord Instructor, and I guess I will see you tomorrow then. Yes, you have a good day. And so with that, that concluded that day's lessons. As William was getting ready to take a break for their lunch and have the rest of the day off, he started feeling a twinge of dizziness, and he grabs onto something. Oh man, I wonder what's going on. Maybe it's because I haven't eaten. This feels odd. I never felt like this before. So as he kind of shakes his head a bit, it then subsides. Perhaps it's because I've been working so hard on these lessons, and of course I still feel the heaviness on my chest and the gravity and the air being thin, but that's very odd. So he thinks nothing more of it. And Queen Margie then shows up. William, you okay? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've been working a little too hard on the lessons. Well, you need to take care of yourself and try not to work too hard. You can only soak in so much of our history and customs, you know. Yes, that is true. I didn't learn some about you. About me? Yes, I learned a little bit about your history. I must say it was quite the honor. Not that I'm trying to be forward or act in a flirting way. This okay, William. Oh, well, I hope you learn quite a bit about the House of the Tyrells. I have. And I must say now it's even more of an honor to be standing before you than ever, because I didn't know that you are such a grand, elegant young lady. Well, you say nice things. I can see again why Daenerys has chosen well. Well, thank you, Queen Margie. There is somebody I want you to meet that you have not met yet. Really? Who would I be meeting now? Well, actually, there's two, but you'll meet him later. The first one happens to sit on the Iron Throne for the realm of the kingdoms right now. Not that he has rightful claim, as he has no interest in it, but he is more or less taken care of until one can prove their worth of having claim to the Iron Throne for the realm of the kingdoms. All right. Will you follow me? Yes, I trust you. You sure about that? Well, I'm just kidding you, Liam. So, kind of joking manner, she leads Liam to the throne room. She then bows before the queen, who is beside the king. I'd like to introduce you to a myth and a legend. This is a human known as William Bruce Targaryen. He was formerly known as, what was your name before him? It was McEachran. I see, McEachran. Well, welcome, William. I never thought I'd meet a human before. Yeah, I seem to get that a lot lately. She laughs. Although the king doesn't look like doesn't seem to amused by it, but in a cautious way, like as he's studying William. Well, I am honored to meet you. This is my husband, and he still has a kind of serious look about him. Your Majesty, I guess that would be the proper title, as that's how he would address one of royalty in my world, the dark blue star that shines brightly in the blurry night sky, known as Earth. Although I'm not sure what would be appropriate, I don't want to offend you. You just can simply call me Your Grace. All right then, Your Grace. It is an honor to me standing before you. You're too kind. Thank you. But I hope you don't mind. I'm not trying to act in a way that you might find displeasing, William. But while I sit on this throne, I must cut to the chase and know your motives. My motives. You are with Daenerys Stormborn of the House of Targaryen, are you not? Yes, she chose me as her suitor and allowed me to blend my human customs with hers because it's a historical moment for us to be married. I confer on this. It is historical. But you must understand the reason why I don't act as open as my wife, the Queen, does. It's because before you came to our world, the Daenerys that I remember led a savage race, Dothraki, to invade with her in King's Landing. And great was the carnage, for she allowed Dothraki to rape women and children, as once her husband, known as Khal Drogo, had said he would do. Though, thanks to the House of Baratheon and the Unknown World, who are merely explorers, we were able to conquer and defeat this, and drive her back, only on the grounds that she disowned one that was born of a man who was risen from the dead, Jon Snow, and that because the child is not pure blood, had no rightful claim to the throne as an heir, and she had to disown this child as a means of keeping the child alive and her being allowed to return back to Meereen alive and unspoiled. So therefore, she can never claim the child as the conditions for her returning back to Marine. While I do not take sides, I am not a pushover, and I hope you would not think of me as the same. No, Your Grace, I would never think of such a thing. I have been, before I came to this world, to which I cannot return, been taught proper mannerisms, to respect one of authority. That is good to hear. Well, you'll have to forgive me if I don't quite trust you, because you are with one whom I do not trust. Well, may I speak freely? You may. What if, before I came to this world, as she had explained it to me, she had admitted to making mistakes, and as a visionary told her, that when a queen, or even a king for that matter, but in her case a queen, admits to making mistakes, she truly then acts as a queen because she learns from them. And she would be willing to surrender for a trial to this. Well, wouldn't the fact that she had to disown her child for all time, and the child being stripped of land and titles to being an heir to the throne that you sit on, be enough punishment? Yes, you're right. I'm not one to rule unjustly. However, if I ever had the opportunity to talk to her, I would want to know, how can she, from everything I have read, when she conquered Marine, state that she did not like to see women, men, and especially children, hung on a cross who were as slaves. Yet, she brings Dothraki, knowing that she can't control them because it is whatever their custom is, to rape women and children. It sounds contradiction to me. And again, how can a queen who dislikes torturing of innocent children accept the word of a sorceress whom she said she hated all sorcery and warlocks and wizards, to having consummated a marriage, which wasn't even a marriage yet until after the consummation, who burned a king's daughter at the stake? Again, contradiction. So you can see, William, why I have my doubts about her. She says one thing, but does another. If she truly dislikes what happens to the children, she would have never married Jon Snow after the pre-consummation. She would have never brought Dothraki over and allowed them to rape women and young girls if she truly dislikes what happens to children. Do you see the point I'm making? Yes, Your Grace. Well, let's not think anything more of this subject. Because again, I do not take sides, though it may sound like I do. Again, I have no interest in the throne, but I will not allow such treachery, even by one like Daenerys, the mother of dragons, to ever happen again. I understand, Your Grace. And I assure you, my being here is merely to learn so I can blend in, because I'm not of this world. I understand. Well then, on to more pleasant things. I believe my wife, the Queen here, has a tale to tell you about how we saved Queen Margie. She has told me, Queen Margie that is, that she wanted to tell you about how she came to still be alive. Would you join me for lunch? It would be a great honor, Your Grace. You have much mannerisms. I hope Daenerys appreciates what she has before her, because you're not like any man of the world. And if she has truly learned her lessons from making mistakes, I take it then she will be well dedicated to you and will never abandon you, if she should ever prove herself worthy for this throne. Because there is much more that you will learn from her, if she's honest enough to tell you, that you don't know, especially after the Great White Walker Wars. But I'm going to leave that up to her to tell you. because I believe you have a right to know, and it is not my place to say anything. So, with that, he gets off the throne, and they all go into the dining hall where he, his wife and queen, William, and Marjorie sit down, and then they begin talking about first how Queen Margie was saved, and to catch William up to speed of his arrival. Back at Marine, after the quiet discussion between Queen Daenerys, Princess Alia, and handmaid Missandei, the princess then returns back to the guest quarters location of the city for where she and Daario are allowed to spend time. Well, did it all go well? Yes, actually better than I expected. I think we might become friends. Really? I didn't know that was going to be possible. Well, you never know. I think perhaps this might be good. Then I won't have to worry about the Harpy King coming after me because I refuse to swear allegiance to him. Well, that is good. He sits down. And she also then sits down. So how did it go? Well, we talked about many things. We, of course, had women's talk. Not that I would spirit idle gossip. Apparently, she enjoyed the fact that you had a nice bottom and a nice pull. He kind of smiles. Oh, really? Telling secrets, I see. Why, is this serve you? No. I do have fond memories myself. She always seemed to enjoy the comforts that I gave her in bed. You're not jealous of this, are you? No, of course not. I was kind of curious if she was jealous of the fact that I have you now. And what was her response? She didn't really have so much to say. She feels that having this human as her husband is quite much better because even though he's about a little less than half of that of a duke, he still qualifies barely, according to the House Targaryen traditions. And, well, apparently he's able to do a little bit more than you can. Not that she found you displeasing. Well, thanks a lot. Well, you do have to understand you're a knight. And under her guidelines, you weren't enough to have her keep you around. Not only that, but she would have never met this one, her nephew, Jon Snow, and had a child with him. Yeah, I suppose you're right on that one. So what else did you two, or three of you, talk about? Well, we talked about many things. About the rough, vigorous times growing up while our fathers had ruling seats. Things like that. Royalty subjects. Okay. So, nothing of interest, particularly? No, not really. But she did say, she kind of smiles on this, I guess she felt it was necessary to brag about this human, that he has a nice, round, firm bottom, and while he may not be endowed like you, she found it quite pleasing that his pole very greatly extends at such a short time, and that apparently this human used this saying called big things come in small packages. Yeah, well, I doubt that. I doubt he could still please her with his pole when mine was the most pleasing. Well, I don't do that, but your pole belongs to me now, right? Well, yeah, so then what's the problem? Nothing. I don't have no problem. Good. So, let her have the human's pole, and I have yours. Yes. Well, I can see this is quite the interesting conversation we're having. Yes, isn't it? But you wanted to know. Yes, I know. I should probably realize by now if I don't want to know anything, don't ask. That's a very wise conclusion, Daario. You do seem to continue to amaze me. Well, thank you, Princess Alia. And so that was quite the short discussion as they sit back and relax and enjoy each other's company.